Ahoy and welcome to this Narrowboat adventure. So today we're going to be talking about how eco-friendly my boat life is compared to my old land life. So this is very specific to me and I've done my best to research it, and maybe you can leave me comments down below to tell me a bit more about how your life on a boat compares to your land life, and how you've made steps towards sustainability and being more eco-friendly. So next I want to talk to you about water. So on our boat we have a 250 litre tank. We fill that up about every 4 weeks, and that's for me and Seb, so that's 2 people. And that's actually less than the amount of water Thames Water says is the average per person per day. So we've obviously made a significant change there. I'm sure part of it is awareness, but also I think a huge part of it is probably our toilets. Because we have a porta potty, the flush tank in that is 5 litres and that lasts us months. Whereas in a land toilet or a flushable toilet, you're looking at 13 litres per flush. Even on an eco one, it's 6 litres per flush. So that's like actually quite a huge amount of water in and of itself. We also have made some changes because of our grey water going directly in the canal. So we're now using things like Ecova and eco-friendly soaps and shampoos. Next I'm going to talk to you about electricity. So on our boat we have 2 solar panels. Each one is 175 watts. So that's 350 altogether. These solar panels basically mean that we don't need to run the engine for power anymore. We have a 12 volt system on the boat with 2 batteries. So those 2 batteries charge our phones and our water pumps and our LED lights all year round. And then in the summer we often turn on our fridge when we're feeling a bit fancy, and we also will use the power to charge laptops. So one thing that has been a new addition this summer, so we're not sure how it's going to go in winter, is we now have a Raspberry Pi, which is kind of like a very small computer with a screen. And so that's essentially like our home desktop, but it only uses 2 amps per hour and it can run old games, and also it's like a desktop basically. I'm going to do another video about that because it is really cool. And so that's like 90% of our power is coming from the solar panels. Usually there is one 2-week stretch in the dead of winter where we have to run the engine for power, but generally the only other power that we have coming from the engine is sort of excess from when we move. Yeah, and I think part of the difference with usage with your power is that in a house using extra power just means you get a higher electricity bill, whereas on a boat using extra power either means that you kill your batteries or you just run out of power, so you're kind of limited to what your boat can actually handle. So that is something that must have made a huge difference as well. Now the next section is heating, and this one is a little bit more difficult, and I'm not quite sure if this is a pro or a con, if I'm honest, boat life. So it is undoubtedly true that gas heating in radiators on land is more efficient gram for gram than coal. We use seasoned logs and coal, smokeless coal, in our multi-fuel stove for heat. The seasoned logs are technically carbon neutral, but coal has a carbon rating of 0.5 kilograms per kilowatt hour, whereas gas in a radiator has a rating of 0.2 kilograms per kilowatt hour. So gas is about twice as efficient as coal, but then you also have to take into account that where we previously lived was a old Victorian house with very high ceilings, and it was a much larger space that we were heating, and we would heat it for much longer. So we would have the radiators on overnight because if the walls got cold they took a long time to heat back up. Whereas with the boat, because the walls are well insulated and they're metal, once they are warm they do stay warm for quite some time and hold the heat. And we also have an eco fan now, And of course it is a much smaller space, so it's very difficult to compare the two really. That's a bit of an unknown there, but I don't know, I think we're quite good when it comes to the multi-fuel as well. We have got the knack of putting the fire on at the end of the evening and having it still be warm in the morning, so actually we are getting quite efficient use of the coal that we have. Unfortunately I didn't pay the heating bill in our previous house because it was a shared house, and I don't really know how much gas we used, so it's really hard for me to quantify. Right, and then so the other heating that we have is we have a diesel heater, which we don't really use for heating, if I'm honest. We use it to heat water so we can have showers. That happens maybe twice a week, and I don't think I can quantify the use of diesel from the engine and the use of diesel from the heaters in any other way than to just say the amount of diesel that we use, because this has to be a con, because we would not have been using this diesel otherwise. We use about 200 litres of diesel a year, so we refill our tank twice a year probably. But then we do also travel, and we do get to see more of the countryside and spend more time outside of London, and we don't drive. So on average we probably use a lot less diesel or petrol than most people, but compared to when I lived on land, I wasn't using any diesel, so I suppose that's a negative for me. And then rubbish is one place where you land people really have us boaters beat. The Canal and River Trust don't provide very much recycling. We have to take our rubbish to the bins rather than having someone handily come and pick it up, although I would imagine us going to the bins saves a little bit of petrol. But it just seems that over the last 3 years the amount of recycling bins the Canal and River Trust has provided has gone down significantly, and they didn't used to provide all that many. Sometimes we can go up to 8 or 9 weeks before we pass another recycling centre, and it just ends up that we're carrying around a load of rubbish. But on a positive note, that does make us a lot more aware of our consumption. We do really aim to get things in paper, because we can at least put that in the fire for kindling. And helping us starting a fire. It's I think one of the biggest positive steps that has come out of living on a boat has been our awareness, because our awareness of our use of water has gone up significantly, our awareness of our use of electricity has gone up significantly, and our awareness of our rubbish has gone up significantly, because there are now consequences. The consequence of using loads of stuff with loads of rubbish means we have loads of rubbish in the bow. The consequence of not using the power efficiently, it means that we end up with no power. And obviously the consequence of using too much water in one go means we run out early. So I think awareness is one of the biggest steps that we've made in sustainability from living on the boat. We also do use gas for our cooking, which we were previously using. We use about 13 kilograms per 5 or 6 months, and yeah, I look at that as being almost carbon neutral, because it is a byproduct of making petrol, which obviously the world is doing quite a lot of anyway. So yeah, I feel like I've kind of talked your ear off about these eco stuff, so maybe you can tell me a bit more about what you're doing to live more sustainably. I certainly feel closer to nature on the boat, and I certainly feel more responsible and more at one with nature. And if you are a boater around the country, let me know in the comments what your recycling is like there. It's something I'm really interested in, particularly now that the CRT are enforcing eco-moorings, where they're not letting people use their engines or their multi-fuel stoves. It seems interesting to me that that's something that they're taking a stand on when they can't even provide recycling. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to join us again for another Narrowboat adventure, you can click subscribe, and then you will find my new videos in your subscription box. Or if you would rather, I also post them on Facebook. You can just search This Narrowboat Adventure, follow me there, and I will post new videos there when they are ready. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, let me know all of the things in the comments. Bye!